There's a moment in everyone's life when everything can change, but most people miss it. Not because they're not capable, but because they're distracted, afraid, or stuck in stories that no longer serve them. In this message, we're going to crack open that moment. We'll discover how to take control of it so you stop drifting through life and start designing it. You were not born to be average. You weren't designed to live in reaction, to settle, to play small. Somewhere deep inside you, you already know there's a moment coming, a moment that will shape the rest of your life. The question is, will you be ready? Most people don't fail because they lack talent. They fail because they don't master the moment. The moment when the alarm goes off and you decide to snooze instead of show up. The moment when fear creeps in and you say, maybe tomorrow. The moment when opportunity knocks and you stay silent. That's what we're breaking today, because that moment, that's not just a second. That's your destiny, waiting for you to step up. One decision. That's it. Life changes in a single decision made with total certainty. You don't need to know how everything will unfold. You just need to deciding, I'm done living like this. Every breakthrough, every invention starts when you draw a line in the sand. Say it out loud. This moment is mine, and I will never be the same again. It always starts with a single moment, one choice, one decision that splits your life into before and after. And most people, honestly, they don't even notice it when it happens. They walk right past the doorway to transformation because they're too busy doubting, waiting, second-guessing, or clinging to comfort. But every major shift in life, every reinvention, every breakthrough starts with a decision made in total clarity, total certainty, total ownership. It's not about having all the answers. It's not about being fearless or prepared. It's about getting to that point, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, where you say, I've had enough. This ends now. Think about it. How many people do you know who say they want more? They want freedom, health, success, passion, fulfillment, but they stay in the same place. Why? Because they haven't decided. They haven't cut off the escape route. You see, the Latin root of the word is decider, which literally means to cut off. When you decide, you're cutting off any other possibility. You're not trying. You're committing. You're declaring. This is it. No turning back. And that kind of decision, it changes the chemistry in your body. It changes your energy. It changes what you tolerate from yourself and others. Let me tell you a story. Real, short, powerful. There was a guy, 38 years old, overweight, broke, depressed. He'd lost his job. His wife had left him, and he was living in his sister's basement. He woke up one morning, stared in the mirror, and just snapped. Not in a violent way, not in a chaotic way, but in a deeply certain way. He said out loud, I'm done. This is not who I am. I don't care how long it takes, but I'm not living like this anymore. That was the moment. Not a year later when he got in shape. Not when he started his first business. Not when he remarried and built a beautiful family. The real transformation started in that mirror. That one decision. That unshakable line in the sand. That's when he shifted his identity. He didn't know what the next step would be. But the commitment was so pure, so real, that the path started to reveal itself. This is how it happens. You don't need the full staircase. You just need to step on the first stair with complete intention. And intention only comes when you're no longer negotiating with your old self. How many times do we do that? We bargain with our pain. We say, maybe next month. We whisper things like, I'm trying, or I'm thinking about changing, or I'll do it when things slow down. But life doesn't respond to maybe. Life moves when you move. A real decision is not just an idea. It's action-backed. It's the moment when your inner voice stops whispering and starts commanding. People look at those who succeed and think they must have had some special advantage. But more often than not, the only real advantage they had was a moment where they burned the boats. Remember that story? the general who landed on enemy shores and ordered his men to burn their ships. He told them, if we're going home in their boats. That's the power of no retreat. That's the power of real decision. When you make a decision like that, something clicks. You stop tolerating mediocrity. You stop waiting for permission. You stop hiding behind excuses. Everything starts to align, not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you become unshakable. It's like driving in a fog. You don't need to see the whole road, just the next 20 feet. But the car only moves if you put it in gear, and that gear is decision. People think the path shapes the decision. No, the decision shapes the path. I know a woman, single mom, 2 jobs, barely sleeping. She wanted to go back to school, but kept telling herself it was too late, too expensive, too hard. Then one day, she walked into her tiny apartment, looked at her 2 kids asleep on the couch, and something in her broke. Or maybe something in her woke up. She said, I'm going to do this for them. I don't know how, but I will. She signed up that night. Fast forward 3 years. She's not only graduated, she's leading a community initiative to help other single moms do the same. That moment on the couch, that was the moment, not the degree, the job offers. That decision, that emotional gut level commitment was the beginning of everything. The mistake most people make is they wait for the perfect time. But the perfect time is now, because now is the only thing that actually exists. There's no better time to take your power back. You don't need a perfect plan. You need certainty. Not, I'll try, I hope, not, let's see, but I will. That's the difference. That's the edge. That's the muscle you build every time you choose to own the moment instead of letting it own you. We all get those moments where everything in you says, it's time. You feel it in your chest, in your gut, in your bones, that deep knowing. The problem is most people silence that voice. They get logical. They get scared. They get busy. But if you can trust that voice just once and say, this is it, the whole game shifts. You become dangerous. You become focused. You become free. Because once you've truly decided, once there's no other option but forward, you stop leaking energy. You stop asking, what if it doesn't work? And start asking, what needs to happen to make it work? That's when momentum shows up. That's when you become magnetic. That's when life stops testing you and starts trusting you, because life responds to decision, to boldness, to conviction. So if you're waiting for a sign, this is it. The moment that splits your life in two, the moment that sets the fire, the moment you stop being the version of you that's settled and become the version that decides. Your power is not in the past. It's not in your regrets. It's not in the future either. Not in someday. Your power is right now. Right now is where choices are made. Right now is where patterns are broken. Right now is where destiny is shaped. But here's the problem. Most people are never here. They're trapped in distractions, fears, doubts. You've got to train yourself to be fully in the moment, because this moment is the one that counts. The present moment, right now, this exact second, is the only place where your power lives. Not yesterday. Not tomorrow. Not someday when everything feels perfect. It's now. And yet, most people live anywhere but here. They're either haunted by the past or hypnotized by the future. They wake up thinking about what went wrong last year. They go to sleep worrying about what might happen next week. And in doing so, they miss the only moment that actually matters. Have you ever driven somewhere and realized you don't remember the road you just traveled? Like your body was there, but your mind was off somewhere else. That's how most people live their entire lives. They're physically present, sure. But mentally, emotionally, they're stuck in loops, old stories, future fears. But the truth is, the only place you can change your life is in the now. This second, this breath. You don't shift your habits next month. You don't rebuild your confidence next year. You don't suddenly wake up one day feeling courageous unless you choose courage in this exact moment. Think about athletes in the zone. You ever watch someone hit that flow state where nothing exists but the play, the motion, the moment? It's like time slows down. There's no hesitation, no doubt, just pure focused presence. That's power. That's alignment. That's what life feels like when you're actually here. But presence isn't automatic. You have to train it because the mind is like a wild animal. It constantly wants to run. It jumps from thought to thought, moment to moment. 1 second you're here, the next you're replaying that awkward conversation from last week. Then suddenly, you're thinking about you left the stove on, or if you'll ever make enough money, or what someone meant by that weird text. And boom, you're gone. You've left the now. And when you're gone from the moment, you're gone from your power. There's a man I once met, mid-40s, successful on paper, wealthy, traveled the world, had the car, the home, the accolades, but he felt empty, numb, disconnected. He said to me, I don't know what's wrong. I have everything, but I feel like I'm not in my life. So I asked him, when was the last time you truly felt present? He paused, a long silence, then said, maybe when my daughter was born. But after that, I don't know. I'm always thinking about the next deal, the next task, the next win. That's it. That's the pattern. Always in the next. Never here. We think fulfillment is out there, somewhere down the line. But it's not. It's in the taste of your coffee. It's in the sound of someone laughing in the other room. It's in the breath you're taking right now. The most successful, grounded, powerful people, they live with both feet planted in the present. They don't obsess over the past, and they don't fear the future. They make decisions now. They speak with presence now. They act with purpose now. And that doesn't mean they don't plan. It doesn't mean they don't learn from the past or prepare for the future. But they don't live there. They visit the past for wisdom, not residence. They look to the future for vision, not anxiety. Because here's the truth. If you don't own the moment owns you. You can't be powerful if you're distracted. You can't create if your mind's always racing. You can't lead if you're mentally stuck in what happened 5 years ago. You have to bring your full self to the now. Try it. Just pause for a second. Feel your body. Take a breath. Notice what's around you. Feel the air. Hear the silence or the noise. Really be here. Feels different, doesn't it? Grounded. Clear. Awake. That's the starting point of all transformation. Not in a book, not in a podcast, not in a course, but in this moment, owned completely, without judgment, without escape. When you can live here, moment by moment, choice by choice, that's when things begin to move. That's when your energy aligns. That's when clarity shows up, because life is not happening later. It's not waiting for you to catch up. It's unfolding now, whether you're paying attention or not. Facts don't change people. Feelings do. When you raise your emotional intensity, everything changes. That's why you don't whisper your goals. You scream them. That's why you don't just think about changing. You feel it in your soul. If you can create a moment of pure emotional power, you can make a decision that rewrites your story forever. Emotion. That's the real spark, the ignition switch, the fire that turns thoughts into movement and intentions into action. You can have the greatest plan in the world. Pages of goals, a vision board, a checklist that looks flawless on paper. But if there's no emotion behind it, it's just ink and ideas. You've probably felt it before, that difference between thinking you should do something and feeling like you must. It's night and day, because when emotion kicks in, real, raw, charged emotion, everything changes. Suddenly, the excuses feel weak. The fear feels small. The delay becomes unacceptable. You don't just want change, you demand it. And that's the thing most people miss. They chase information. They gather more strategies, more tools, more content. But they never drop into the one thing that actually causes the shift. Feeling. You don't break a cycle with logic. You break it with is leverage. An emotion, did someone say. That was the moment I snapped. What they're really saying is, I reached an emotional threshold, like the woman who wakes up, steps on the scale, and for some reason, this time, it hits different. Maybe she stepped on that same scale 100 times before. But today, something cracks open inside her. She feels a surge of frustration, shame, maybe even anger. And instead of numbing it, she uses it. She throws away the junk food. She calls the gym. She makes a real, lasting shift. Not because someone gave her a better meal plan, but because her emotion finally caught up with her decision. You can't fake that kind of energy. You can't manufacture it with spreadsheets and quiet intentions. It's something you generate. You pull it up from within. And sometimes it's not even a negative feeling. Sometimes it's joy, inspiration, pride, like the guy who sees his kid watching him. He's been playing small, drifting, stuck in the same job, same routine. But one day his kid says, I want to be just like you. Not in his head, in his heart. Because deep down, he knows he's capable of more. He knows he's been holding back. And suddenly that love, that emotional surge, pushes him into motion. That's not coincidence. That's cause. Emotion is the cause. So the real question isn't, what should I do? It's, what can I feel deeply enough to move? Because once you feel it, truly feel it, it's hard to unfeel it. Have you ever gotten to a point where you just said, that's it, I'm done? You weren't making a list. You weren't weighing pros and cons. You felt it in your chest, in your gut, like something inside you slammed its fist on the table and said, enough. That's where the power lies. Not in the thinking, not in the wishing, but in the emotional clarity that says, this has to change, and it changes now. People always ask, how do I stay motivated? Wrong question. The right question is, how do I stay emotionally connected to what matters? You want motivation? Attach your goals to something that makes you feel, something that brings tears to your eyes, or fire to your voice, or energy to your bones. Because when it's emotional, it becomes personal. And when it's personal, it becomes non-negotiable. You'll protect it. You'll fight for it. You'll show up when you don't feel like it. And no, it doesn't have to be dramatic. It can be quiet, internal. But it has to be real. You have to know why this matters. Not just in your mind, but in your body, in your nervous system, in your soul, because that's the fuel. That's what turns a choice into a lifestyle. That's what makes you consistent. Not because you have to be, but because you can't not be. You'll hear a song and feel your mission rise up. You'll remember a moment and feel your fire return. You'll look in someone's eyes and know exactly why you started, and it'll move you again and again. Emotion is the switch that turns on the truth. It's the bridge between where you are and where you were meant to go. And when you feel it, when you truly feel it, you stop hesitating. You stop negotiating. You stop looking for shortcuts. You decide. And from that place, nothing can stop you. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you tolerate. If you don't raise your standards in the moment, you'll default to the past again and again. You either take command of this second, or it drags you back into old habits, old stories, old limits. And let me tell you something. Nothing changes until you do. You want a new life, new outcomes, new energy. Then command the moment. Master it. Dominate it. Life doesn't give you what you want. It gives you what you tolerate. Let that sink in for a second, because that's the line that wakes people up. We all have dreams, big ones. We want success, freedom, respect, fulfillment. We talk about these things like they're goals, but the truth, they're standards. And if your standards don't match your desires, you're never going to get what you want. You either raise your standards or you repeat the past. That's the pattern. It's not about what you hope for. It's about what you accept, what you settle for, what you allow. Think about it. How many times have you told yourself, I want to get in shape, but then let yourself off the hook when it got hard? Or said, I want a better relationship, but kept staying in the same toxic cycle because it was familiar. It's not that you didn't want more. You just hadn't raised your standard. Because when you raise your standard, you change what's acceptable. You change what's normal for you. Let me paint a picture. Imagine a thermostat in a room. If the room drops below 68 degrees, the heat kicks in. If it goes above 72, the air conditioner turns on. Why? Because the thermostat has a set standard. You are the thermostat of your life. When your energy drops, where income shrinks, when your confidence dips, what happens? Do you correct it? Or do you let it slide? Because whatever you consistently tolerate becomes your new baseline. There was this guy, young, mid-20s, brilliant but drifting. He had a business idea, but he was half in, half out. He'd work on it for a few weeks, get distracted, then go back to scrolling social media, hanging with friends, blowing off time, until one night something shifted. He was at a party and someone he respected, someone successful, looked at him and said, "Man, you're all talk." And it hit him, not in the ego, in the soul. He went home, looked in the mirror and said, "I'm tired of being the guy with potential. I'm done settling. I'm done being average." That night, he deleted every distraction off his phone. He made a schedule. He committed, not just with words, but with action. And he said something powerful. From now on, this version of me, the sloppy, lazy, unfocused version, he's dead. That's what a raised standard looks like. It's not screaming motivation. It's not hype. It's a quiet, steady refusal to live below your potential. But here's the thing. When you raise your standard, everything around you starts to shift. The people in your life will feel it. The energy you carry will change. Opportunities you used to overlook will suddenly appear. Why? Because the universe doesn't respond to want. It responds to belief. And when you act like your standards are high, when you live like your standards are non-negotiable, life takes you seriously. Think about someone who walks into a room with presence. You can tell, can't you? They don't even have to speak. It's in their posture, their focus, their energy. That's the mark of someone who refuses to accept anything less than excellence. It's not arrogance. It's alignment. They've decided who they are, and more importantly, who they're not willing to be anymore. Now look at your own life. Where have you been settling? What habits are you still justifying? What environments are you still tolerating? What language are you still using that keeps you small? I guess it's okay. It's not that bad. At least I'm not as bad as them. That's the language of lowered standards. That's the voice that talks you out of greatness. And no one escapes it. We all have areas where we slip, where we let comfort sneak back in. But the shift happens when you become intolerant of your own mediocrity. When you stop letting yourself off the hook, because here's the truth. If you don't raise your standards in the moment will lower you. You'll go back to default mode. You'll react instead of lead. You'll drift instead of decide. And one day you'll wake up in a life you didn't choose. It just happened because you didn't take the reins. But the moment you decide, this is who I am now, everything changes. Your habits begin to reflect it. Your words begin to reflect it. Your relationships begin to reflect it. It doesn't mean it'll be easy, but it'll be clear. And clarity is power. Because once you know what you no longer accept, life will test you. But if you hold the line, if you stand firm in your new standard, you'll find strength you didn't know you had. And from that place, you don't just create success. You become the kind of person who attracts it. So here it is, laid bare and raw. Your life is shaped not by chance, not by luck, but by the decisions you make, the presence you command, the emotion you harness, and the standards you hold. There's a moment, and it might be this moment, where everything can change. But only if you take it, only if you stop waiting, stop negotiating, and start owning the direction of your life. Because mastery doesn't happen someday. Destiny isn't written in the future. It's carved out now by the choices you make when no one's watching, by how you show up when it's hard, by whether you accept the minimum or demand more from yourself. If you can master the moment, this one right here, then there is no limit to who you can become, to what you can build, to the life you can lead. It all starts with one moment, one decision, one rise. And that moment is now. This is your second. This is the moment that shapes your destiny. What you do now, not later, not tomorrow, will echo through everything that comes next. So decide, step forward, change your life, because the moment isn't waiting, and neither is your destiny.